ask you a couple of questions about Halwin. So describe to me this relationship that you have with this guy who took you in kind of as a father figure, this human detective.
Yeah. His name's Dominic Hirsch. He's older. I'm thinking maybe early 70s ish. But yeah, so when Halwin was a kid, basically lived with his father who died in a work-related accident, and rather than kind of being taken away to an orphanage or something, Halwin kind of ran away and started living, basically being a homeless kid.
Was your father were you impoverished? A lot of the factory jobs in the Undercity of Sharn are not great jobs.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it was something like working in a warehouse, working in a factory, something industrial revolution-y.
Sure, and at that point the war effort was still going on, so
yeah. And so, it was just it was not uncommon probably for people to die in work-related accidents, but yeah, and again, Halwin kind of survived that through kind of learning to listen and kind of, because he was a little kid. He was kind of had to blackmail people to kind of circumvent being picked up by one of the gangs or beaten up all the time or what have you.
Right, and there's a lot of orphans on the streets of Sharn.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that maybe he got caught pickpocketing someone or something at one point by, again, this detective Dominic, and he kind of saw how Halwin tried to weasel his way out of it and all that, and he was pretty shrewd, and he was very good detective, and so kind of realized, okay, this kid's trying to pull a fast one on me, but he kind of saw something in him, I think, and kind of, again, at that point, kind of, took him in, and
and going forward, what did that relationship look like after that? Did you live with him? Did he provide for you?
I think I would have lived with him. Provided for him, but I'm sure, Halwin kind of earned his keep in one way or another, doing work around the, the house, the apartment, maybe even getting an official kind of being a secretary, almost sort of deal for him at the office. And in turn, the guy, in addition to obviously housing him and so forth, kind of taught him, some detectivery.
Sure. You probably picked up some things for sure. And so did that instill a respect in Halwin for the position of law enforcement in general, or just detectives, and because you kind of operate sometimes outside of the law, right, on the edge of it.
I don't think necessarily. I've tried to think kind of to some degree, what would Halwin's alignment be on the typical chart, and I honestly don't think he would be in the lawful category even.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think he's, to him it's somewhat of a game. It's being smarter than the other person. I think he has a lot of respect for other people who do it well. And I think he has a lot of respect for Dominic, but I think he probably still views your everyday average city guard or so forth as a putz,
Okay. And how long do you think that Halwin stayed with Dominic and that kind of relationship? Or if it's easier, how long have you been out of his home and I think I've
been sort of out on his own probably about the past, between 25 and 30 years. He was maybe early 20s when he kind of started doing his own thing, or something in that vein.
Okay. Yeah, so Dominic, like you said, is in his 70s, around there. He is retired, living off of savings in a fairly comfortable fashion. Do you think that Halwin interacts with him often, or?
I think it's kind of a, and I think it's probably a weekly thing.
Yeah.
I think maybe, I don't know, just to say a day of the week, Thursdays, Halwin kind of goes over
Fantasy Thursday.
Right. Say Thor's Day, but that's
right. Turdus.
That's actually
Turdus.
Turdus, yeah. anyway, let's call it Fantasy Thursdays. Spends, majority of the day over there. He kind of does things around the apartment or what have you and they just kind of talk and have a drink together sort of thing. And kind of yank each other's chain,
Yeah, that sounds good. And I think that's the direction that we can go for this next scene to where you're heading on your way to your weekly meeting with him. He's requested to meet you at a restaurant.
Oh, okay.
Kind of in Middle Dura. Maybe you go there frequently with him. Just when you're not visiting him at his place or whatever.
And I think it's something that probably Frank knows Halwin does, just because they've known each other for so long. But I think it's kind of something that Halwin keeps a little bit under wraps.
Sure.
Kind of to the extent he doesn't want people to know he has feelings.
Okay.
Yeah. Sort of thing.
Yeah. Feelings are
bad.
Yeah, they're bad. It's leverage on you.
Yeah.
To some loved ones.
Absolutely. To some degree. And Halwin being
because that's how you see other people.
Right. Being a manipulator, he would view it that way.
Yeah, for sure. That's good. Yeah. So we'll say it's nighttime. In kind of the bustling streets of Sharn, and you're on the way to the restaurant to meet him. Partially on your way there, where kind of the streets of Dura get really narrow and kind of claustrophobic, and they kind of start to funnel into a specific set of streets that go through. You come across a bit of a roadblock. Outside of a very fancy residence, there are these large storage crates that are being flown in on store sleds and then dropped in the middle of the street as minotaurs kind of get off the store sleds and start to drag and push them towards this big house. These big storage crates. And you kind of get to the corner where streets intersect to where the roadblock is, and you kind of look left and right, and it's just this massive line of big boxes.
How big are we talking?
8 feet tall in some cases.
Wow.
Super wide.
So they're not uniform. They're not all uniform.
They are not all uniform. Okay. So outside of this super wealthy residence that to be the home of a house beneath private warlord kind of thing, kind of like a private military leader. So super wealthy. Making money in super dubious ethical grounds.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
With a private military. But so there are these minotaurs and dragging in, and you see them at the front of the house, which you can kind of see from here, cracking open the crates and then pulling out the furniture. Massive amounts of furniture moving in.
I'll bet that couch is full of cocaine.
Also around the premises and kind of guarding this train of hugely valuable items are these kind of square-jawed, really straightforward-looking security guards. They have these crossbows kind of loose at their sides that they're holding, and just kind of keeping a very tight perimeter around the house and this roadblock right now. So at this point, the direction that you need to go is through this roadblock. What do you do? And they have a lot of crates, and it looks like it's going to take a very long time.
Oh boy. Am I on a busy street? Is there anyone else around?
There are a couple of other people gathered around that are also trying to get through.
Okay.
As they kind of go through, the security guards kind of come up to them and just shake their heads and say give us 30 minutes and we'll be done with this. But this is a very strict operation right here.
Okay.
They say go around. But going around is very much out of the way.
Yeah.
It's basically a 20-minute detour on its own.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. What else is in this direction in the city other than restaurants and so forth?
Yeah, a lot of residential areas.
Okay.
It's a small dingy park nearby, but that's pretty much it. This area is mostly residential.
Okay.
There's a halfling street food vendor behind you, selling chicken Talenta style, which might just mean that it's Raptor.
Which might just be Velociraptor. Do any of the... I'm trying to think of the best way to ask this. Do any of the security guards have anything about them that makes me think they might, have children. Like one's got like a clearly like a macaroni necklace that his son made on.
Right, yeah, a bulging wallet filled with pictures of his wife and family.
Yeah, and if not, just the youngest looking one.
Yeah, I don't know about their domestic situation, but there is definitely a younger orc security guard there. That has a slightly better temperament than the other ones do.
A little more amiable, maybe.
Yeah. So we'll say that it's an orcish woman with this kind of like jet black / bluish hair. It's kind of like tight against her neck, kind of short. So what do you want to do?
Want to run up to her and kind of act sort of winded and just be like, my good woman, I know, I'm sure whatever is happening here for Lord Daenerys is very important, but I need to get through. I've just heard that my mother fell and hurt herself. She lives just a couple of blocks down. Please, you have to let me through.
She kind of like she kind of looks concerned for a moment, and then kind of like snaps back into like what her job is. Like, sorry, I really can't let you do that. This is a very tight perimeter. We're under very strict orders. I can't let anyone through right now.
Please, I'm thin. I literally need 2 feet of space between 2 boxes, and I will be out of your hair as soon as it takes me to span their breadth. I promise you.
Okay, go ahead and roll to manipulate someone.
Which I get to do with my sharp.
Nice.
That's an 11.
Okay. So on an 11 for a manipulate person, they'll do it for the reason you gave them, which is just that someone is dying and that you need to go see to them.
Yeah.
I think it is asking a little bit much from her. So it's in the way that the move works. If you ask too much, they'll tell you the minimum it would take for them to do it.
Okay. Fair.
So basically, you're gonna just have to bribe her. She says, Showalter is paying us a lot of money right now. So if you could slip me a little something, I could maybe clear some room for you.
And again, I
could really use some money to feed my beautiful children.
Acting really frantic, kind of goes for his wallet, his coin purse, and I mean, in previous instances, do I have a sense of how much it'll take for her to move?
So, yeah, like slip her 20 or something, like an equivalent.
Okay.
It's not an exorbitant amount.
Right. I mean, I grab what in my previous experience of, situations like this is usually sufficient.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's fine. Maybe that was the money you were planning on spending on dinner tonight.
Yeah. So does she?
Yeah. She kind of motions to one of the other guards and she's just like the 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And then they do halt and you're able to slip through.
I kind of, grab at her like forearms, and I'm kind of like, thank you so much. And, I'm going to run through the opening.
You're still a pretty good liar.
So as soon as he gets to the other side and like the boxes close and stuff, he's just like, I guess I'm not having that mojito tonight.
Yeah, and they're cracking open boxes, and then like the Minotaurs are like hand carrying them into this big house. And these pieces of furniture look like they're carved out of ivory, pretty much.
Whoa.
Super intricate.
Scrimshaw furniture.
It's like maybe on the side of a storage crate you see like some sort of brand or some sort of manufacturership or something like that, and it seems to be coming from the Eberron elves.
Whoa.
So it's pretty clear that like these are like masterwork items that are going in. So so the Eberron elves essentially their elders are immortal. So an immortal furniture maker could probably make some pretty cool furniture.
One would think.
Yeah, most of them, spend their time perfecting magic and diplomacy and all kinds of stuff. But if you have an immortal furniture maker, that's pretty cool.
I mean, send that boy to High Point.
Right. Cool. Yeah. So as soon as you get through the other side and then kind of resume your normal temperament.
I mean, I act like I'm still running until I'm a reasonable distance away, and then just kind of hands back in the pockets and strolling.
Yeah. As soon as like maybe you turn a corner and like resume your like normal gait.
Yeah.
Kind of like all casual like. You hear the shattering of glass behind you from the direction that you just came from.
I go, I swear if there is a green goo in whatever just got dropped.
That would actually be really funny.
Would it, Keegan?
It is not a green goo. Like looking back around the corner, back in the direction you came, like above the storage crates, you see one of the windows of the mansion, like the second floor window, shattered, and someone kind of tumbling out of it, slowed by a featherfall spell. An individual wearing this like deep red cloak that's very long and has these gold edges and trim on the end of it. This kind of cloak that's just kind of wrapping around them as they tumble in this feather fall, swallowing them entirely. And they kind of start gently floating to the ground until they hit it and kind of tumble and do a little bit of a roll. And they kind of just like sit on the ground, like shaking their head, seemingly kind of discombobulated.
Is this, what race is House Denethor?
Human.
Human? Is this human?
It's tough to tell. But it looks vaguely of the size that a human average would be. They're kind of swallowed totally by this cloak.
Okay.
What do you do?
And
they're kind of like on the other side of the storage crates, so it doesn't seem like a whole lot of other people have noticed them yet.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I kind of like turn and look down like the way I was going, like towards the restaurant. And kind of look back and it's just like, damn my curiosity. And just kind of, again, not run over, but kind of, briskly walk over.
Okay.
And like, is it male, female? Do I get a sense as I get closer?
Not yet.
Okay. Excuse me, are you all right?
Yeah, it's kind of like you two are like the only ones around this area because no one has been let in yet, other than you. And they, as they kind of get to their feet, and kind of like the cloak kind of falls away and then reveals more of their appearance. You see that you can't really also quite see the face, because aside from the red cloak is this very similar kind of scarlet crimson like face mask.
Okay.
Like cloth mask, kind of just covering like the upper bridge of the nose and below, and you can kind of just see these like.
So they're a ninja.
Similar in a way. You can kind of just see these kind of brown eyes behind it. And the person kind of, as they're, like I said, they're kind of discombobulated by that fall. But the feather fall spell kind of brought them down, and they aren't necessarily hurt, but they just kind of start to get up. It's like, and they kind of like look up at you like, sorry, yeah, I'm fine. Just kind of took a quick tumble out. But I got someplace to be. I have an appointment, so I'm gonna keep going.
Something you're so late for? You had to bust through a window to.
Exactly. You know how it is, and as like this individual that kind of has a bit of a feminine voice, stands up and starts kind of walking towards you to move past you. You hear a voice shouting up from the window, saying, "Assassin! They murdered Mr. Denethor!" And then the individual's like, "Well, like I said, I really gotta go." And then they start to like run. What do you do?
Oh God. Have I ID'd this person's race or anything yet? Or I mean, is it like, do they have like pointy ears even or anything like that I've perceived?
You because of the cloak and the hood and the face mask, you can't see
Still,
ears.
Really just eyes.
You can narrow it down to human, maybe an elf or a half elf, just based on a little bit of skin that you can see on the face and their general height and build. And so like you see people someone calling out from the window above. And you start to hear like the security guards and the minotaurs like start to like make a ruckus and mobilize behind the wall of crates that they're currently behind.
Is the person up in? Do I see someone up in the window, like kind of looking down our direction?
Yeah, sure. It's in the distance, so it's kind of a vague shape. But you can see them and hear them.
Is it far enough? I think they may or may not have ID'd me.
I think that's a fair assumption that they might not exactly see who you are.
Okay, cool.
I wasn't expecting this to be such a tough.
I have an idea, but I think it's really stupid.
That's okay. Yeah, I mean, I can help kind of clarify whether it is outright stupid or not. I don't want you to do something totally stupid. What do you do?
Okay, so again, this person's like kind of trying to walk.
They're trying to run past you.
Run past me. Okay. So I kind of want to, hands out, like kind of try to stop them.
Okay.
For a second, and no weapons drawn or anything on my end, at least.
Okay.
And
sure. They also don't seemingly have any weapons currently drawn.
Okay. Look, I don't know who you are. or where you're off to, but I want to see how deep this rabbit hole goes. And if you do too, meet me at this restaurant, table by the window. I'll be there with an old man.
She doesn't like stop running, but like kind of like is like kind of looking backwards and kind of slowing her run a little bit. Kind of as you say all this, kind of just like what is he saying right now? But there's this like really like genuine laugh, and she says, "All right, I'll see you there." She kind of like runs a little bit further, and as like some of the security guards like start to like also filter in, you maybe like duck out into an alleyway or something, and you see them like start to fire crossbow bolts at her. But also looking down the alleyway, you can see the tail of her cloak starts to kind of like spark a little bit and smoke, and it actually starts to burn away. And with the cloak, she also starts to disappear and burn away and just cinch into a puff of smoke and is gone.
And I'm really going to need that mojito, too.
I'm trying to think of a fun name for this restaurant. What kind of restaurant do you think it would be? Like,
I think
category-wise?
Again, I'm thinking this guy's, like, older, probably kind of to some degree set in his ways. I feel like it's like a fantasy diner.
Fantasy diner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Greasy.
Like a 24-hour diner, like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Greasy. There's, like one waitress,
right.
Maybe not that, but.
I mean, maybe, but she's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, and she's clearly a chain smoker, that kind of thing.
Sure. And there's just like, there's like a Warford chef kind of through the kitchen window, just like flipping pancakes or pancakes and burgers and
pancake burgers.
Pancake burgers.
They're famous for their pancake burgers.
Yeah. And so you're just there kind of sitting in the like probably like I still imagine it's like kind of like this like these like gaudy red colors and like neon lights and like just kind of like this like dingy New York diner tucked away in the corner of Sharn.
Oh, for sure.
I'm still trying to think of a good name. But like most diners like have names like Highway Diner or like Diner 95 or something like that. Now I'm actually kind of thinking more, what if it's like more like explicit theme to the diner?
Ooh.
What else is fun?
What else is fun?
A dwarven diner.
That could be fun.
Yeah.
Be the greasy stone instead of the greasy spoon.
That's pretty good. That's evocative.
So evocative.
I can just picture that greasy stone. Yeah.
The greasy stone?
Yeah, it is the greasy stone diner, staffed entirely by dwarves, with this one dwarvish waitress that's just going around and just totally taking care of the place.
Yeah. Sweet.
Like in the serving window, like you don't see anyone cooking in the back, but you just see like hands reach up and set the plates on top of the serving window. These thick, hairy hands just setting them up there. You don't see anyone in the back of the diner though.
Excellent.
That's in view.
You just see dining tickets covered in runes. Like
right. Yeah. Maybe it was named after this stone out front that is just kind of always greasy, just by some sort of magical property.
Just some like failed transmutation wizard.
Yeah.
I like the picture of a wizard that like keeps trying to cast transmutation spells and all he does is make things greasy.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Man, I wish I could. Oh.
Well, like 5th edition has the grease spell.
There's the grease spell. That's true.
So it's just kind of like a natural like embodiment of that arcane energy. Just these greasy stones that they sometimes find in the mountains. So yeah. That's where we are here. That's where you are.
That's where I want to be.
Exactly. Yeah. That's where you are with Dominic, who is like we said a senior at this point, but still has a lot of vigor. So still a pretty capable individual.
Right.
I think that he kind of like he's like very happy in his retirement. Like he just like does like normal stuff.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine because maybe he saw like a lot of stuff in his career.
I like it.
What do you think that you and him talk about?
I don't think I tell him about our potential visitor.
Sure.
At the beginning.
Right.
I mean, I think it's mostly catching up on the week. I feel like Halwin probably keeps him in the loop on his, cases and so forth.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think so.
I think he's interested in it. I think that maybe like through his old channels, like he is hearing about the things that you're doing.
Well, and you know, I think Halwin also sees it as something that, I mean, yeah, he knows he's enjoying this quote unquote normal life, whatever. But that, you know, it's probably, you know, he knows you can't totally take him out of the game, and so he knows he gets some, you know, some juice off of hearing, you know, about these exploits, you know.
No, and I think he is interested, and he probably offers these little like nuggets of wisdom kind of offhandedly.
Exactly, yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, that boy was definitely the criminal the whole time, or like he was, and the slime, yeah, was probably the military, you know? Like,
or like, at the end of every case, he's like, well, I knew that after this.
Right, of course that's it.
And it's like, Halwin's just always like, no, you didn't. You know, and they have these little fights about like, how could you have known that, you know, sort of thing.
He's like, oh, I saw that, you know, dozens of times.
I've had like 20 cases like that.
Lacrosse monster. Look, you've seen that.
But yeah, just, you know, but again, some of it is earnest advice, like, oh, did you ever consider this angle, or you know, something like that.
Sure.
You know, and again, I think Halwin, as cocky as he is, does still have a lot of respect for Dominic.
Yeah, totally. What kind of food do you think you order? At this dwarf diner?
Salted pork, no.
Just so you know, everything's very greasy.
Oh, I'm sure.
I think this is a very important character question. What does your character order at a diner? Lobster.
Oh God! Isn't there a whole SNL skit on that?
Yeah.
Oh God, the lobster at the Greasy Stone. Oh, men have died.
Like, it's cave lobster.
Men have died for less. I feel like Halwin is not. He's not a health nut, but he's not a you know, I'm gonna get the triple decker pancake burger every time I come here either.
Okay.
I think he might be.
Is he adventurous eater, or does he eat out of habit a lot of the same stuff?
I think he's mostly an out of habit kind of guy. I think he might be a club sandwich kind of guy.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get the club sandwich, and then Dominic starts to ask you some other stuff, and he starts to talk to you about stuff kind of outside of work, and then he's asking you, Halwin, are you happy with what you're doing?
Well, I mean, of course, it's you know, I feel, you know, not putting anything on you. I feel like it's what I was, you know, raised to do. I'm good at it. You know, I enjoy it. At the end of the day, it's between you and me. It's about the only thing I enjoy.
The only thing you enjoy.
We've talked about this. Just, you know.
Yeah, we've talked about it before, and that's kind of been a common theme. Is that your work is the only thing you enjoy? Okay,
look, Mr., you know, I'm retired, so now I'm worldly. You'd never been on a hike until you retired.
I mean, the stairs here in Sharn are pretty strenuous, but no, I didn't have a lot of chances for hiking until recently, and it's great.
I'll have to try it sometime.
Listen, I'm not one to judge, because you're doing the same thing that I did for a very long time. However, I only had about 45 years to do it. You've got a lot more time. Are you going to do this for 100 years?
I don't know, Dominic. I suppose I'll do it until I don't get the rush anymore.
The rush.
Oh, here we go.
I'm just saying, you know, that's just a lot of important flags going up right now for me, but look, I just think that
is this where you're going to tell me I'm a sociopath?
I just think that you should find eventually some kind of life that doesn't require you to hide your friends and family. You've got a lot more time than me, and you have a lot more time to do a lot more good in a lot more different ways than someone like me. Hopefully.
So what if you were me, Dominic, with my skill set? I mean, you probably know me as well as anyone. How would you do that good? Throw me that bone.
Even if you have a certain skill set, it doesn't hurt to learn something new and to put yourself in unfamiliar environments. And then he kind of like trails off for a little bit. He's like, I forgot to tell you, Do you remember Karna? Karna is Dominic's daughter, who he had when he was a bit older. So I think probably your interaction with her is like it's just probably like a couple of years as she was like a teenager and then older and stuff like that, right before you kind of disappeared, not disappeared, but separated.
Right.
She says, it totally slipped my mind. I asked her to come meet us here tonight, just to chat about old times. And then he kind of like looks up and then sees someone entering into the diner. This human woman with this kind of like short brownish orangish hair, and then these kind of wearing this very nice clothing. With like this deep green blazer that has this layer of mesh lace on top of it. Dressed very, very well. She's kind of like fiddling with her hair as she kind of walks in, and you recognize her. It had been a long time since you'd seen her. And I wonder like what a relationship would have been with Halwin, where she is Dominic's legitimate daughter. Right. And you are kind of an adopted son.
Right, for sure.
Just base like top level, do you have any ideas on that? And also for a little bit more information, just to help that a little bit easier, she's been gone for the last 6 years, working with the King's Swords in the Citadel, kind of as it's basically the equivalent of like an FBI agent in Breland. Going around to the different sections of the country and working for the Citadel. She's recently returned to Sharn.
Gotcha.
That you just heard in passing last week or so.
I feel like Halwin probably instinctually had some degree of jealousy, not necessarily animosity, but jealousy. I mean, he lost a parent, been fortunate enough to find a new one, and now was kind of in a like, hey, I don't want to be pushed out, sort of thing. Initially, I feel like, but I mean, I'm sure they always got along. I doubt they were ever besties or anything, but I think that was probably always to some degree looming in Halwin's mind.
Yeah, not besties, but I can't imagine you were like openly like
not antagonistic. No.
Yeah. Especially since you're a fair bit older than her.
Right, for sure.
I imagine she's probably in like her early 30s or something like that. Cool, yeah. So she kind of wanders in and waves at you and comes and sits down on the diner. And then she kind of like gets situated. She sits next to Dominic and she says, sorry, I was hanging out with a couple of friends, and we kind of just got a little bit caught up, and sorry, I lost track of time, Dad. And something in the way that she says it lets you know that she is lying about that, the part about why she was late. But Dominic's very affable. He's like, that's totally fine here. You missed all of our boring detective stories, so that's no big deal at all. She even like starts to continue like talk about her friends and stuff like that, but just continuing the line, you can tell in the tone of her voice and then the eye contact that she's making and kind of like glancing at you every once in a while, kind of awkwardly and kind of like looking at you, kind of expecting something. But yeah, their conversation just continues to kind of go on.
So she kind of rambled on almost about like, oh, here's what we were doing, like as if it was,
Yeah, and then she's like, Dad, you didn't tell me that we were meeting Halwin tonight, but it's, and she turns to you finally. She says, it's good to see you after all this time.
Yes, absolutely.
It's been 6 years, I think.
Yeah, 6 by my count.
I think definitely 6 years.
Yes, that's what I was saying. Excellent.
Okay, yeah, sure. Okay, cool. So what are you up to nowadays?
Well, how long have I had the detective? I mean, would she probably have known about the...
I don't even know if she knows about it because she's been gone for so long.
Yeah.
I don't know. We haven't really put a time on it.
Yeah, we really haven't.
Do we want to say, I mean, does like a year sound right?
Or 2 years? I feel it might have been more than that. Yeah, maybe more like 2 or even 3 years. But
a couple of years, yeah.
Yeah, but... Well, so started a independent detective agency with a friend. So Thrash sanctioned and all that.
Okay.
Done some decent work. Currently working a serial killer case.
Oh wow, that's serious. I've worked with a couple of Thrash agents, and a lot of them are really quite capable using that dragon mark of theirs to find things and find people.
Yes, indeed. Well, there are other ways of finding people.
Sure. Yeah. You've always been super smart and observant, so that totally makes sense.
Yes, and telling when people are lying. He said knowingly.
Sure. Yeah. She's like, yeah, that's a super valuable skill for sure. What are you thinking right now?
Oh, is this Keegan?
Yes, this is Keegan. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, I mean, I'm almost wondering if she's the person who jumped out of the window.
Yeah, and kind of as you're looking her over, and as Dominic is kind of like digging into like this like baked potato or something that he's having, you notice that just kind of in your analytical way, the way that you even know that she's lying and stuff like that, you notice that like there's like this smudge on lips of her lipstick that indicates that she put it on very hastily. Mm-hmm. Her cheeks are flushed. Her breathing is escalated, indicating recent strenuous activity. Yeah. And even in the scent laden atmosphere of this greasy diner, you get this faint whiff of brimstone.
So again, not necessarily trying to say it in a tone that's accusatory or anything.
Sure.
And what was the name of the Diniath that got murdered? Or did I even hear the...
Showalter.
Showalter?
Yes.
Was it Michael Showalter?
I knew you were going to make that joke.
I'm sorry.
I knew it.
That's
the only person named Showalter.
That's the only one?
Yeah.
In existence.
But it's a pretty cool name otherwise.
It's actually pretty dope. By the way, just, before you hear it, from the papers and the criers, there was... Showalter Diniath was murdered just moments ago.
Yeah, Dominic kind of perks up at that, and he kind of like looks concerned. She's like, "Really?"
Yeah, I was passing that way on my way to the Greasy Stone, and they were loading in some extravagant furniture for him, and then someone I can only assume was an assassin busted out of the window and took off running, and one of the servants of the house stuck their head out the window and screamed, someone had murdered Master Showalter.
She starts to like, her eyes start to water, and she starts to put on this rather convincing performance of shock. Mm-hmm. She says that's unbelievable. He was a friend of mine.
Oh, do tell.
She can go on about how she worked with some of his like squadrons in her work as with the King's Swords, which that part is very true.
Okay.
Both her working with the swords and working with his kind of area of private military contractors.
By the way, listener, Keegan is expressly telling me when he's lying to me because I literally have an ability that says,
yes,
I always know when someone's lying to me.
Yes, that is very correct.
We are not cheating.
Yes. True fans will know the multiple times that we have addressed.
Those true fans. Sorry, but yeah, so she...
Yeah, so she actually like starts to well up and then like gives this performance of grief and shock. Not like immense, but just kind of like...
Yeah, she's not overdoing it.
Like she like you would if you had heard about a like distant friend or like a semi-acquaintance just dying and being murdered.
Yeah. Yeah, Halwin is somewhat impressed.
Yeah, I mean, she's a decent liar for most people's standards.
Yeah. Again, he's impressed that she's not over the topping it, not, underdoing it. She's doing...
Yeah. And like, aside from like the kind of like difficult situation she finds herself in and kind of like the very like awkward connection that has just been made, like you can tell that otherwise she's a very like capable, like social, like...
Right, I'm sure.
Like manipulator in a way. And it can be very confident. And Dominic kind of like starts to comfort her and it says, "Oh well, that's terrible news. I imagine we'll be hearing about that more tomorrow. But enough of all this talk about death. You two haven't seen each other in a long time. I thought that you would want to catch up."
Indeed, quite enough. So how long have you been in town?
Just a couple weeks now at this point. But yeah, just kind of hanging out with friends, kind of decompressing from the last couple of years.
Do you have a new assignment or?
I'm really just kind of digging into my hobbies, she says with a smile.
I kind of look at Dominic like, you bastard.
He says, yeah, she's really, I mean, she doesn't have a job right now. So I thought that maybe if you guys ever needed help with your agency, like maybe she could help.
I definitely keep that in mind. I wouldn't want to pull her away from her hobbies.
She's like, yeah, Dad, I don't really know about that. I mean, hobbies are important for a person,
Just caught another glance at Dominic.
Yeah, so at that point, kind of the eventually this kind of like game of cat and mouse kind of ceases, and then the night comes to a close, and then dinner at the Greasy Stone is over, and you go pay your ticket, and you find yourself a little short on money.
Wonder why.
So Karna kind of pulls out this little pouch and starts counting out some Galifar gold coins on it. She's like, "Don't worry, Halwin, I got it."
Oh, well, I do appreciate it.
It's been a long time, so I think I can get you dinner.
Indeed, would be most appreciated. Say, Karna, where are you staying? Are you staying with your father, or?
She said, "Yeah, currently I'm staying with Dad just for a couple more days until I find something suitable."
Very good. Well, why don't I have nothing this evening. Why don't we all walk home together, and then I'll head back to my place.
Okay, sure. And then you all start to walk back there. Did you want to do anything during that period?
Not during the walk.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so you arrive at Dominic's
more
place.
Small talk during the walk.
Yeah, sure. So you arrive at Dominic's place and kind of bid them adieu, or he can go up alone. He can go back upstairs.
I was gonna say, yes, actually, Karna, I was just hoping, Dominic, I hope you don't mind to catch up, a little more. Before you retire.
Chuckles like, all right, yeah, sure. Try not to run into any more murders on the way there next week.
Well, you know how I do.
And he kind of waves you off and then disappears into the residence. And then so it kind of as a few moments pass as he walks sufficiently far away and into the building and stuff like that, Karna's just kind of like leaning against the wall and is like, so.
I just kind of like, I'm still watching like where he kind of walked upstairs. I'm not looking at her just yet. And I'm just like, so I know, right?
Yeah, I really thought that maybe I could pull it off, but yeah, no, there was no chance. Why did you let me go?
Honestly,
I mean, you invited me to dinner.
I'm not
before
sure.
You knew who I was.
Call it overwhelming curiosity. Call it, I don't know, maybe just looking for a shake-up in the routine. Damn it, that means Dominic's right. Yep, definitely can't be that. So why? Was this Citadel sanctioned, or?
I can't go into that right now.
Which means yes.
No, not necessarily. I am currently, admittedly, I am currently not working with the swords. And at this point, all pretense of lying has been dropped. She's straight truthful with you.
Awesome.
When she says that. So I'm not working with the swords. But I definitely can't tell you the details, especially considering your position. But what are you going to do about this?
Honestly, no intention to. I mean, again, call it my own curiosity. I'd run a business now, Karna. It's, again, if there's not anything in it. You are, a sister to me of sorts. I, have no intention of raining on whatever bloody parade that you're throwing.
So, well, that's pretty decent of you, Halwin. I wouldn't have. I guess I'm a little surprised by that. I certainly didn't think this was how this night was going to shake out.
No, I'm sure not. Hey, you're not a changeling, are you?
She says, no, I am not.
Okay, never mind.
And she's lying. I'm just kidding.
What?
She says, no, I'm not anything of the sort. And I've heard about the Claw in my brief time here, and I've heard about if it's mysteries as well. And you all seem to get into some pretty terrible shit.
Well, it's not entirely inaccurate.
For the dangerous stuff that you're getting into, who's working with you? Like, you're smart, but you're not necessarily the fighter type.
No, certainly not. I don't recall if you ever met Francis Turner. He's actually, still can't believe his last name's Turner. He's a, somewhat of a removed cousin of the Thrashks. But He, is a veteran, and he's, we kind of partnered up on this, and we currently have an intern.
So you, this Turner fellow, and an intern.
That would be it. Yes.
Well, if you ever need help, I kind of owe you right now. So.
That is how I operate.
And she kind of like loosens up. So if you ever need the assistance of an assassin, kind of like looks around.
Halwin just kind of smirks when she kind of says it under her breath, just like Jesus.
Yeah. Then feel free to let me know. I think that I'm going to be in Sharn for a while.
All right, business must be booming.
It always is. Just please don't tell Dad.
I don't think at his age he would perhaps take it the best. So trust me, I do. I do care about him, Connor.
Of course.
If you ever tell that to anyone else, however, I just might hire one of your competitors.
I think we have an understanding. You won't tell anyone about my assassinations, and I won't tell anyone that you have feelings for another being.
You are trivializing it, but yes, we do have an understanding.
At that point, I think that she goes upstairs.
Yeah, I don't think we hug or handshake or anything like that at all. No. As soon as she's, up the stairs and got the door closed. Could have really used that mojito.